Hello and welcome to On Fire here on Daily Mirror Online. I'm Easwaran Rutnam. Slovenia is about to complete its term as President of the European Union. Slovenia held the position of the EU presidency from July to December 31st this year. Sri Lanka has been closely monitored by the EU on the human rights issue and many other factors, including the GSP. Ms. Mateja Ghosh has just taken on the role as Ambassador of Slovenia to Sri Lanka, based in New Delhi, and she joins us on the program today. Ambassador, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure is mine. So, Ambassador, with the EU completing its term as President of the EU, with Slovenia completing its term as President of the EU, I would like to look back at their role during that term as president. How do you see that? Did Slovenia make a major impact as EU president?
I would say that we did. Of course, the roles after the Lisbon Treaty, the roles of the member states a little bit changed. We don't have such a prominent role as before that. EU institutions in Brussels, especially also European Parliament, play a much bigger role. But I think we did make an impact. We followed 4 priorities. The first one, of course, was resilience and digitalization. This was mostly in response to the current pandemic. So we did, as you know, the European Union for the first time adopted a very big budget recovery plan in the amount over 700 billion euros. So it was our task to contribute that the national plans to utilize these funds were adopted as soon as possible in order to go on the road of recovery. And we were quite successful with that. I think around 22 national plans were already confirmed, and they already started their implementation. Then, of course, we also were working on in the health sector. We strengthened the health sector, so it's more responsive to the current crisis. We also achieved some results in cybersecurity and Digital Service Act and Digital Market Act. This it was something which the French presidency will still have to carry over. And of course, we were also very active in the climate change area. Because of the COP26, we were coordinating the EU positions there. And as you know, the European Union also started discussing the very ambitious Fit for 55 package, which will address the climate change and should make European Union carbon neutral by 2050. So the other thing which was we were very active, and it was our second priority, was the future of Europe. A big consultation all over European member states was launched regarding the Europe future. So we organized many discussions in this field at home and in some other countries. The big event in Slovenia was Bled Strategic Forum, which is a yearly, I would say, conference with mainly regional topics, but in the time, like these past 2 years, it was also a bit broader. So this year main topic was what would be the future of Europe. We just wanted to gather as diverse views as possible from different age group, different social groups, in order to see which direction should European Union go. Then, of course, we also worked on strengthening the European values and rule of law. And the fourth priority was to make European Union credible and secure, contributing to the security in its neighborhood, but also, of course, wider in the world. And in that respect, as you know, in August there was a big Afghanistan crisis, so there were many meetings between defense ministers, interior ministers, foreign ministers organized in Slovenia, and I think discussions were fruitful, and they did accept common conclusions, which of course was success. Then another crisis we were dealing with, of course, was the crisis in Belarus with the migrants on the border. But I would say the most important event for us, for Slovenia, was the Western Balkan Summit in the beginning of October. As you know, Slovenia is a big proponent of expanding the European Union membership with the Balkan states. We know that this will be a long process. It won't be as quick as we would like to be, but the progress was made. The decision was taken that these kind of meetings should now happen on a yearly basis. And another perhaps success which I would point out was that water is a big priority in our foreign policy, in Slovenian foreign policy. And Slovenia did succeed to adopt council conclusions on water, which means that water issue has become part of work at the European Union institutions.
Mm-hmm. Despite all this work that the EU is doing, Ambassador, there has been this criticism that the EU is weak at times, that they are not taking decisive decisions on some sensitive issues. I mean, you mentioned Afghanistan, and that is one issue that has been in the focus or in the limelight. And the EU has at times been criticized of not doing enough there. I mean, how would you respond to those sort of criticisms?
Of course, EU is a composition of 27 member states plus the European institutions, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not always easy to reach the common conclusion. But I do think we have made quite a big progress in this field. We may still disagree sometimes about certain issues, but like Afghanistan, we were very united. Belarus, I think there is also unity. I think also in other aspects, the positions are becoming closer, especially in this, changing geopolitical influences. So, we managed to stay united, for example, in negotiations with Brexit. But of course, we still have work to do, but I have big faith and hope that we will continue to improve.
And Slovenia is also now looking at a non-permanent seat in the UN Security Council. How important is that position for Slovenia?
It's very important, to be very honest. I mean, I think this kind of membership, it's even more important for smaller countries. And Slovenia is a big defender of effective multilateralism. So this will be our main goal, to promote multilateralism, inclusiveness, and in that respect, we also believe that there should be certain reforms undertaken in order to make multilateralism more effective.
Before we discuss Slovenia and Sri Lanka's relationship, I know you're also the ambassador for Slovenia in India. How important do you feel is India's role in this region?
I think India's role has definitely, the importance of India has definitely increased in the context of European Union, and I also see in our foreign policy. I think there are two reasons, for that. One is, of course, that in this changing geopolitical structure, we see India as very central to establish a multipolar world. We believe the multipolar world would bring a safer world, bigger security. Bipolar, we saw in the past that it was very antagonistic. We don't want that. So in that regard, I think India has an important role to play. And the second thing I would say is that also India has become more active on a global level. They have, engaged in many different areas. I think they are quite vocal in climate change, also in fight against terrorism. So they are doing their effort on their side too. But also from our point of view, India is an important player to kind of establish multipolar world.
Since you mentioned the importance of India's relationship with Slovenia, do you see both countries working together on like global or regional issues to address key issues?
This past September, the external minister, Dr. Jaishankar, was on a visit to Slovenia. It was in dual role as bilateral visit and also as a participant in this Bled Strategic Forum and the informal foreign ministers meeting. And the big discussion there was Indo-Pacific. So as you know, European Union adopted Indo-Pacific strategy for cooperation. So we were discussing this issue with India before the adoption. So I would say that yes, bilaterally we do cooperate. We intensified our contacts. There is also such an increase of the Slovenian company interest to enter the Indian market, especially with niche technologies. But we also cooperate with India strongly, of course, within European Union context. And I would say within the European Union context, cooperation with India has substantially intensified.
Ambassador, there has also been this criticism that the European Union, or let's say the West, tries to dictate terms to small countries like Sri Lanka, especially using trade. Now we depend a lot on GSP as well, and that now seems to be being used as a tool. How would you respond in the context of the EU, that the EU and other countries, bigger nations, are trying to put pressure on smaller countries by holding a carrot in front of them, making them offers, but also demanding certain solutions or demanding certain conditions?
I can understand that this could be impression from your side, but I don't really think this happens only in the case of the smaller countries. I think that this approach about environmental, labor, human rights, entering trade negotiations, this is present in all the negotiations the European Union does. This is present with Canada, this was present with Japan, Mercosur. So I do think that they, in that regard, treat countries equally. But I do understand that since the countries are at different level of development, that for some countries may be a little bit more difficult to accept the quite high standards, I would say, than for other countries. But of course, certain flexibility would also be then required on the side of European Union. And I think so far it has showed, but it's never easy, that I know.
How do you see the trade relations between Sri Lanka and Slovenia? I mean, do you see need for some sort of improvement? Is there proper trade balance?
Until I just checked the numbers before I came here. So until this year, we had quite balanced trade volume between us. There wasn't big difference, big deficit, or I think Sri Lanka was even on the positive side. But in the past 9 months, our fiscal year starts on 1st of January and ends at the end of December. So I have the figures for the past 9 months until the end of September. And there was increase in trade by about 6%. But to the big advantage of Sri Lanka, I would say, you increased your exports to Slovenia by about 50%, and ours lowered about 45%. So, but I guess this also reflects a little bit of of Sri Lanka's difficult economic financial situation at the moment, and I'm sure this will improve. But trade relations are modest, I would say. In general, it evolved around 7 million euros per year, which I think there is a big scope of improvement.
What will be your focus area as ambassador representing Sri Lanka? I mean, what would be the key area that you would be looking at developing or improving on as far as Slovenia's relationship with Sri Lanka is concerned?
Of course, we'll try to improve, or I would say, build on already established good political relations. Your current foreign minister visited Slovenia already a few times, once bilaterally, and also your representatives, high-level representatives, participated at Bled Strategic Forum. So we will see if we can continue with this. We also want to start with the political consultation between foreign ministries. But in the field of economy and trade, I think there would be tourism, which offers quite a big potential of cooperation. I must say that Sri Lanka is very popular among Slovenian citizens. We are only 2 million. So our numbers may not be big in comparison to other countries, but Slovenian citizens love coming to Sri Lanka and they like it. The other fields which we kind of identified yesterday in my talks with the foreign ministry were artificial intelligence, where Slovenia is quite strong, also in robotics, in water management, and in general, I would say that where Slovenia excels are the high-end niche technologies. So we would definitely focus in that area.
So Sri Lanka has shown interest in artificial intelligence.
That was my impression yesterday when I talked. Yes, it was actually Sri Lankan side who raised this issue. And I would also say that in that respect, in Slovenia, there is international research center for artificial intelligence, which was established under the auspices of UNESCO. And the main tasks of this center is to implement the Sustainable Development Goals with the assistance of artificial intelligence. So I do think we could find quite few opportunities to cooperate in this area.
How has COVID, I read a few reports the other day as well on some steps being taken in Slovenia to prevent the spread of COVID. How has COVID affected your country?
I must say that Slovenia was heavily affected. The first wave last year, we were very successful. I think one of the most successful European countries. Unfortunately, the subsequent waves, we were not as successful. So the last wave, which is still going on, which was caused by Delta strain, we were badly hit. We did not close the economy. We tried to stay open as much as possible.
So your borders were also open, is it?
Yes, yes. Because, you know, in 2020, our economy dropped by minus 5.5%. So that was quite a big drop. With the assistance from European Union and with our own government packages, we were quite successful, and the prognosis in September for this year was around 6% growth. I don't know whether this would realize now with Delta wave, but we had 2 million. For certain days, we had over 4,000 cases per day. We currently have around 1,000 every day. So, and the Omicron is not even, it's just started. So we still have difficult days ahead of us. But I must say that our hospitals and medical staff are doing wonders. They are very hardworking, and I see when I check the numbers that, of course, every life lost is, you know, it's very sad occasion, but they've been trying to slow down the death rate, and they've been quite successful. I would wish that my countrymen would vaccinate more. We are not among the highest performers in European Union, so I would hope that we would be more successful. But at the time being, we are not yet thinking about obligatory vaccination. But we do have that, you know, if you want to go into the restaurant, or you have to show the vaccination certificate, or you have to show the RT-PCR test, or the rapid antigen test. So we have these measures. But the entry to the country, of course, with all the testing or vaccination, for the time being, is still it's still free.
Okay.
We don't issue tourist visas yet, but for business and for that, we are open.
Finally, I want to touch on this subject, since this is something that a lot of diplomats comment on, and this is the China factor. Most diplomats raise concerns about China's presence in the South Asian region, in Sri Lanka and a few other countries as well. Is China's really strong presence in this region a concern of any sort for Slovenia?
I would say that the attitude toward China has changed a little bit. And from the point of European Union, we see it as strategic rival in certain areas, but we also see it as an indispensable partner in certain other issues, you know, like climate change. I think we all know that without China, even without India, the climate change goals won't be achievable, right? So. But yeah, in general, I think the approach has changed a little bit. But at the time being, I wouldn't say that we see it as a threat, but as a strategic rival in certain areas and as indispensable partner in climate change and some other issues.
Right, Ambassador, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for taking time to join us on this program. And that's all the time we have for you on Fire here on Daily Mirror. Do join us for our next program. Till then, stay safe.